A devoted daughter sends money home for 11 years believing her mother is safe, until one shocking discovery reveals a heartbreaking betrayal. Please subscribe my channel. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long golden shadows across the dusty road as she stepped out of the car. Her heart was racing, not from fear, but from excitement. 11 years. 11 long years of sacrifice, sleepless nights, and quiet prayers had led to this moment. She imagined the reunion over and over again, her mother smiling, arms wide open, tears of joy falling freely. She had pictured laughter, warmth, the comfort of finally being home. But something felt wrong. The compound gate creaked as she pushed it open. The once lively place now looked tired, forgotten. The walls were cracked, the ground unkempt, and the air carried a strange, heavy smell. "What is that smell?" she whispered softly, her brows tightening. She took a few careful steps forward. Then she saw her. Her mother, sitting on the bare ground, beside a rubbish bin. Her clothes were dirty. Her hair was unkempt. And her hands, those same hands that once stitched beautiful dresses, were now digging into a tin of leftover food. For a moment, the world stopped. Her breath caught in her throat. Her body refused to move. No, this couldn't be real. "Mama!" Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper. Her mother didn't respond immediately. She just kept eating, as if nothing around her mattered. The suitcase slipped from her hand and hit the ground with a dull thud. She rushed forward and dropped to her knees, her eyes filling with tears that refused to stay hidden anymore. Her hands trembled as she reached out, but she hesitated, afraid that touching her might somehow confirm this nightmare. What happened to you?" she whispered, her voice breaking. From behind, a calm voice spoke as if nothing was wrong. "Your mother has not been well for a long time. We have been managing." "Managing?" Her eyes snapped toward the speaker, disbelief burning through her tears. "Managing," she repeated, her voice rising. "She is sitting in the dirt, eating from the trash. And you call that managing?" Her heart shattered in that moment, not just from what she saw, but from what she realized. All those years, all the money she sent, all the trust she gave. Where did it all go? What have they done to my mother? Her hands finally moved, gently touching her mother's arm. It felt cold, fragile, like something that had been forgotten for too long. "Mama, it's me," she said softly, tears now falling freely. "I came back. I kept my promise." Slowly, painfully slowly, her mother looked up. Her eyes were cloudy, distant, searching. For a second, there was nothing. And then, a flicker. "Chiny," her mother whispered weakly. That one word broke her completely. She leaned forward, holding her mother tightly, as if trying to gather all the lost years into one single embrace. The excitement she carried home had turned into heartbreak. The dream she held for 11 years had collapsed in seconds. And in its place rose a painful truth. Sometimes, the people we trust the most are the ones who betray us the deepest. The memory began like a soft echo, pulling her back to a time when everything still felt possible. It was a bright morning, filled with heat and hope, the kind of day that feels like the beginning of something life-changing. She stood outside the embassy gate, her hands tightly holding her passport, her heart beating faster than ever before. "It came," she whispered to herself, almost unable to believe it. After 2 years of waiting, praying, and trying again, her visa had finally been approved. For a moment, she just stood there, breathing deeply, as if the air itself had changed. The world suddenly felt bigger, brighter, full of opportunity. Without wasting another second, she rushed to a nearby phone and dialed the number she knew by heart. The call connected. "Mama," her voice shook with emotion. It came. There was silence on the other end. And then, soft, uncontrollable crying. Her mother didn't speak right away. She just cried, the kind of cry that carries years of hope, fear, and silent prayers finally answered. "God is faithful," her mother finally said, her voice heavy with tears. "My God is faithful." That evening, their small home felt warmer than ever before. It wasn't rich, but it was full of dignity. The walls held memories, the yard held laughter, and under the mango tree stood her mother's sewing table, the place where she had worked day and night to raise her. Her mother moved quietly around the house, folding clothes, packing small things into her daughter's bag. She didn't complain. She didn't ask for anything. She only gave. As night fell, they sat together in silence, the weight of tomorrow hanging between them. "Are you ready?" her mother asked softly. She nodded, but her eyes said everything her words couldn't. Fear. Excitement. Uncertainty. What if everything didn't go as planned? But then she looked at her mother, the woman who had sacrificed everything for her, and strength returned. "I have to succeed for her." Late into the night, her mother carefully repacked her bag again, smoothing every piece of clothing as if love itself could protect her daughter in a foreign land. Before sleeping, her mother held her hands tightly. "When you get there," she said gently, "do not forget to eat. Not send money. Not take care of me. Just eat." A mother's love. Simple and selfless. The next morning came too quickly. At the airport, the goodbye felt heavier than she expected. They held each other longer than usual, neither wanting to let go first. "Go," her mother whispered, forcing a smile through her tears. "Go and build your life." She turned away, but not before her own tears finally fell. As she walked toward her future, one question quietly followed her. Would all this sacrifice truly lead to a better life? Behind her, her mother stood still watching, until she disappeared completely. A silent prayer resting on her lips. A heart full of hope. And a love strong enough to wait, no matter how long it took. Because sometimes, the greatest sacrifices are made quietly, with nothing but love in return. The dream she carried in her heart did not welcome her gently. Life abroad was nothing like she had imagined. The city was loud, fast, and unforgiving. Tall buildings replaced familiar faces, and the warmth of home was replaced by long, quiet nights. She lived in a small apartment she shared with two other women, strangers who became silent companions in a life built on survival. There was no luxury, no comfort, only work. Every morning began before the sun rose. She would tie her hair back, put on her uniform, and step into a world where no one knew her story. Long hours at the care home drained her body. She lifted patients, cleaned rooms, walked endless hallways, and smiled even when her feet ached beyond words. Some nights, she returned home too tired to eat. But she never complained. Because every struggle had a purpose. At the end of each month, she sat quietly on her bed, counting her earnings carefully. Bills first. Rent. Food. Transport. And then, the most important part. She sent money home. Every single month. Sometimes $300. Sometimes more, when she pushed herself harder than usual. Her hands would pause for a moment before confirming the transfer, her heart softening with hope. "Mama will be okay," she whispered to herself. The voice on the other end always reassured her. "She is fine," they said. "She is resting. Do not worry." Their words sounded calm, convincing, almost comforting. And she believed them. Because what else could she do from so far away? "At least my sacrifices are making her life easier." That thought gave her strength. Years passed quietly. Days turned into months, and months into years. She missed birthdays. Holidays. Simple moments that once filled her life with joy. Phone calls became shorter. Her mother's voice grew softer, weaker, but she told herself it was just age, just time passing. There were moments when doubt tried to enter her heart. Why did her mother speak less? Why did she never come to the phone sometimes? Why were video calls always impossible? But each time, she pushed those thoughts away. Because trusting them felt easier than facing the fear. What if something was wrong? No, she refused to believe that. She worked harder instead. Double shifts. Extra hours. Less sleep. All for one reason. To give her mother a better life. To repay every sacrifice her mother had made. To make her proud. But as the years slipped by, one question quietly grew stronger, hidden beneath all the effort and hope. Was everything truly as it seemed back home? Still, she continued. Because love does not question easily. It gives, and gives, and gives again. Even when it has nothing left. And sometimes, the deepest sacrifices are made in silence, trusting that love on the other side will do the same. At first, the signs were small. So small they were easy to ignore. A missed call here. A delayed response there. Nothing serious. Nothing alarming. At least, that's what she told herself. One evening, after a long shift, she sat on the edge of her bed and dialed home. The phone rang longer than usual. When it was finally answered, the voice on the other end sounded calm, almost too calm. "She is sleeping," they said. "You know how she gets tired these days." She nodded silently, even though they couldn't see her. "Okay. I'll call tomorrow." But tomorrow came, and the same answer followed. "She just stepped out. She is resting. She will call you back." She waited. The call never came. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, a quiet unease settled in her chest. It wasn't loud enough to break her trust, but it was there, growing. One night, she tried again. "Can I speak to her now?" she asked, her voice gentle but firm. There was a pause. A short one, but heavy enough to be noticed. "The network is not good," they replied quickly. "Next time, we will arrange it properly." She stared at her phone after the call ended, her reflection faintly visible on the dark screen. Why did every answer sound prepared? Why did every excuse come so easily? Am I just overthinking, or is something being hidden from me? She shook her head, trying to push the thought away. No, they were family. Family doesn't lie, right? But the feeling refused to leave. Months later, she sent extra money for her mother's medication after hearing she wasn't feeling well. She called a few days later, her voice filled with concern. "Mama, how are you feeling now? Is the medicine helping?" There was silence. Soft, confused silence. "What medicine?" her mother asked weakly. Her heart skipped a beat. She froze, her fingers tightening around the phone. They said you were taking medication," she replied slowly. "Oh," her mother murmured, unsure. "I don't remember." The call ended soon after. That night, sleep didn't come easily. Her mind replayed the moment again and again. Something wasn't right. Another time, she insisted on a video call. "This time, I want to see her," she said. They agreed. But when the call started, the screen showed only parts of the house, empty corners, moving shadows. "She is not feeling well today," they said quickly. Another day. Another day. Always another day. Her trust didn't break all at once. It cracked, slowly, quietly, piece by piece. Each excuse, each delay, each unanswered question added to the growing weight in her heart. And for the first time in 11 years, fear replaced hope. What if the truth she had been avoiding was far worse than she imagined? What if all this time, she had been trusting the wrong people? Because sometimes, the most dangerous lies are not the ones we hear, but the ones we choose to believe. The truth did not arrive with warning. It came quietly, in the form of a single message. No greeting. No explanation. Just a photograph. She stared at her phone, her fingers trembling as she opened it. The image was blurry, taken from a distance, as if someone was afraid to be seen. But even through the blur, the reality was painfully clear. A woman, sitting on the ground. Clothes torn. Hair scattered. Bare feet pressed against the dirt. And in her hands, food taken from a rubbish bin. Her breath stopped. Her heart refused to accept what her eyes were seeing. No, it couldn't be her. But then she noticed something small, something only a daughter would recognize. The way the toes bent slightly inward. The faint scar near the ankle. Memories rushed in all at once. And in that moment, denial shattered. "Mama," her lips moved, but no sound came out. Her phone slipped slightly in her hand as her body went cold. How long? How long had this been happening? Her chest tightened as she quickly dialed the unknown number that had sent the photo. It rang once, twice, then connected. "Hello," a cautious voice answered. "Who is this?" she asked, her voice shaking. "My name is Benedicta," the woman replied softly. "I live next door to your mother." Her heart pounded louder with every word. "What is happening to her?" she asked, fear now breaking through. There was a pause. The kind of pause that carries heavy truth. "Your mother has not been well for a long time," Benedicta said carefully. "Sometimes she remembers. Sometimes she doesn't. But what is worse," her voice lowered, "she has not been cared for." Tears filled her eyes instantly. "What do you mean, not cared for?" she whispered. She is often left alone, Benedicta continued. No proper food.
No medication.
Some days, she sits outside for hours. Rain or sun, no one checks on her. Her hands began to shake uncontrollably. The money, she said suddenly, her voice rising. I send money every month. For 11 years. Where is it going? Silence. Then a gentle, painful truth. My dear, Benedicta said softly, I cannot answer that. But what I see is not the life of a woman who is being cared for. Her world collapsed in that moment. Every late night, every extra shift, every sacrifice she made, all of it meant nothing. All this time, she was suffering alone. Tears streamed down her face as the weight of betrayal crushed her completely. They had lied to her. Every call, every reassurance, every promise. It was all a lie. And while she fought to build a better life, her mother was being forgotten in the worst way possible. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. Only one thing echoed in her mind now. She had to go home. Immediately. No more waiting. No more trusting. No more lies. Because the truth was no longer hidden. It was right in front of her, painful, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. Sometimes, the most heartbreaking truth is realizing that the people you trusted were the ones who caused the deepest pain. The journey back home felt longer than 11 years. Every second on the plane was heavy, filled with regret, anger, and a fear she could no longer silence. She didn't sleep. She didn't eat. Her mind replayed that image again and again, her mother, alone, forgotten, broken. The moment she landed, she didn't waste time. No calls. No warnings. She went straight home. The gate creaked open just like before, but this time, she wasn't the hopeful daughter returning with dreams. She was a daughter demanding truth. After seeing her mother and holding her in disbelief, something inside her changed. The pain in her chest slowly turned into something sharper, stronger. Anger. She stood up slowly, wiping her tears, her eyes now filled with a cold determination. From the doorway, they watched her. The same people who had spoken calmly over the phone for years, now silent. You said she was fine, she spoke, her voice steady but shaking underneath. You said she was being taken care of. No one answered. Her gaze hardened. Look at her, she shouted, pointing toward her mother still sitting weakly on the ground. Does this look like care to you? A man stepped forward, her uncle. Calm down, he said, trying to control the situation. Things are not as simple as you think. She let out a bitter laugh. Not simple, she repeated. 11 years, every single month, I sent money. For her. For this house. For her health. So tell me, where did it go? The silence that followed was louder than any answer. People had started gathering near the gate. Neighbors watching. Whispering. The truth was no longer something that could be hidden. There were expenses, her uncle finally said, avoiding her eyes. The house, food, other responsibilities. Her steps moved closer to him. Then why was she starving? Her voice cut through the air. Why was she outside, eating from the trash? He had no answer. Only silence, and guilt that refused to show itself fully. She felt her hands shaking, but she didn't stop. I trusted you, she said, her voice breaking slightly. I believed every word you said. I worked day and night, thinking my mother was safe. How could they look me in the eyes and lie for so long? Her chest rose and fell as emotions clashed inside her. Pain, anger, betrayal. You didn't just steal money, she continued, her voice now stronger. You stole her dignity. You stole her life. The words hung heavy in the air. No one dared to interrupt. For years, they had controlled the story. But not anymore. I want every answer, she said firmly. Every single one. And I won't leave until I get them. Her uncle looked away. Others avoided her gaze. Because for the first time, they had nothing left to hide behind. The truth had been exposed. And now, it demanded to be faced. Because when silence protects injustice for too long, the truth doesn't whisper anymore, it roars. The storm did not end that day, but something else began. A fight. Not just for answers, but for healing. The very next morning, She took control. No more waiting. No more trusting empty words. She held her mother's hand gently as they stepped into the hospital, her heart aching with every slow movement her mother made. Doctors asked questions. Tests were done. Reports were written. And then, the truth came again. Years of neglect. Lack of proper food.
No consistent medication.
Loneliness that had quietly damaged both body and mind. Her hands tightened into fists as she listened, her chest burning with pain. How could a life be reduced to this? But this time, she didn't break. I will fix this, no matter how long it takes. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, carefully, she began rebuilding everything that had been taken away. She cleaned the house with her own hands. She removed the dirt, the broken things, the painful reminders. Fresh paint covered the walls. Light returned to a place that had forgotten how to feel alive. She bought new clothes for her mother. Cooked warm meals. Sat beside her for hours, even in silence. At first, her mother barely spoke. Her eyes were distant, lost in places no one else could see. But then one day, something changed. "Did you eat?" her mother asked softly. The same words from years ago. Tears filled her eyes instantly. "Yes, Mama," she whispered, holding her hand tighter. That small moment felt like a miracle. Healing didn't come all at once. Some days were good, filled with small smiles and short conversations. Other days were heavy, quiet, confusing. But she stayed. Every single day. Because this time, her mother would never be alone again. Outside, things were changing too. The truth had spread. Neighbors talked. Relatives avoided her eyes. The same people who once spoke confidently now remained silent under the weight of what they had done. Steps were taken. Authorities were involved. Documents were reviewed. Questions were asked, and this time, answers were forced into the open. Money was traced. Lies were exposed. And slowly, justice began to take shape. Not loudly. Not instantly. But surely. Her uncle, once respected, now faced the consequences of his actions. The comfort he built on lies started to crumble piece by piece. And for the first time, accountability replaced silence. One evening, as the sun set softly over the compound, she sat beside her mother under the same sky that had once witnessed so much pain. Her mother held a pair of scissors in her hand, turning them gently, as if remembering something long forgotten. "I used to sew," she said quietly. "You still can," she replied with a soft smile. Her mother looked at her, really looked this time, and smiled. A real smile. After everything, that smile was worth more than all the money in the world. She leaned her head gently on her mother's shoulder, closing her eyes as peace finally touched her heart. The past could not be erased. But the future was theirs to rebuild. And this time, it would be built on truth, on care, on love that never abandons. Because in the end, justice is not just about punishment. It is about restoring what was broken and protecting what truly matters.